Welcome everyone. In this session, we will learn about basics of API testing. So first of all, what is an API? So by definition is basically API is an application programming interface. So people may not understand that. So let's take an example. Let's take a common example. Everyone uses printer here, right? So what happens in printer? So a print document command from your computer is sent to printer, right? So document interacts with OS using API. OS interacts with hardware using API. So APIs are everywhere. So by definition, it's a set of function and procedure that allow the creation of application which access the feature or data of operating system, application, or other service. So many people may not understand that. So let's take a common example. So there's a situation. So I'm creating an application. I'm creating an application. So application has three levels. The first level is basically a UI layer where you see the UI of the application. Second level is basically in a logic layer or API layer. And the third level is database layer where we store all our data. So now to connect from the level 1 to level 3, we need APIs. Okay. So, but why we can't directly connect from level 1 to level 3? We can do that. So if everything is self-hosted means everything is basically our own, then we can do that. So there's no third-party intervention. We don't have to share anything with anyone. So it's pretty easy. But let's take an example of Facebook. So Facebook provides a common login functionality in different websites. So now if Facebook has to do that without an API, they had to provide their database credentials to everyone, right? Which they can't do. So that's why they created an API which everyone can use, right? So now even on my website, I can use Facebook login functionality using API, right? So hopefully the API is clear. Now you may see that some APIs require authentication token. So Facebook has created their API, everyone can use it. But if they don't provide any authentication, so there will be a misuse of it, right? So that's why they have authentication token. Every application can use Facebook API, but they have to generate their own authentication token so that Facebook can limit or check or unauthorized user which are not registered on their website, right? So some other example. So this is an API weather.com, right? So whenever you get the weather information, that is get through APIs. The second reason why API was needed basically for mobile apps. So now you have everything, but in your mobile you have to connect with this website, right? So if you use again create connection to database, fetch data from database, it will take a lot of time. So for mobile SDKs to connect with your services, we needed API so that mobile app can access all those data which is present on your website, and the transformation between two system like mobile and the web services is much faster. So now the types of transformation, like we talked about transformation from one system to another system. So this transformation happens through two particular protocols, or you can say particular formats, REST and SOAP, right? So REST is basically a representation state transfer layer, and SOAP is a service-oriented architecture protocol. So initially, when the mainframe systems and other systems were used, SOAP was very popular. But then JSON comes in, and JSON is much faster than SOAP, and it travels in much faster speed. And it's easy to make apps on JSON compared to SOAP. So that's why JSON became more popular these days. So REST is basically an architecture style. Basically, how you design your uh, framework of APIs and so on. And SOAP is a protocol. Like its protocol means rules. So it has set of rules to follow when you have web services on SOAP. It's an HTTP protocol. It's an SOAP protocol. It supports different data type, different data format, JSON, XML, YAML. It only support XML. The JSON or REST APIs are gives more performance and scalability and caching. It's like the main reason why we needed REST APIs compared to SOAP was slow performance. And now it is widely and frequently used. I think only old companies or government organizations using SOAP. Otherwise, we mostly use REST APIs. One advantage of having SOAP is basically security. It is much secure because it follows protocols, right? So it is much secure than JSON. But other than that, there are multiple advantages in JSON, and now even in security, JSON is making more improvements. Okay, why API testing is important? So we know about APIs now. We know how the APIs data is transferred from one system to another system. Why API testing is important? So see, for UI, you have to wait for UI developer to finish UI and then mapping between UI and your backend layer. But a backend developer can create APIs without the need of UI, right? And now once you have the API, testing team can engage early, right? They can test the logic and then they can give all the issues to developers or stakeholders much faster. You can test these functionality without UI. UI is basically just for the user, right? The first layer. The second, third layer is the more important one where all the functions, logics and etc. happens. You can test with the development. So let's say a developer is working on creating an API which perform 10 tasks. He had done with 2 tasks of those APIs. So you can test those 2 APIs and developer keeps on working on other APIs. The other thing is UI developer is still working on UIs, but you are ready with the API testing and you can do the APIs when the UI development or the other API development is going on. Automated test cost reduction. So in automation, we'll talk about automation in further session, but when we do the automation, UI tests are flaky, consume lot of time and gives you result in a very high amount of time. But in case of API, APIs are stable compared to UI, right? And automation is also giving you faster results, and the API automation make sure that the results are faster and they provide the stability as well. So you don't have to wait for data, something like that, to appear like UI. In APIs, everything is available because this is a backend logic, database columns and data already available in database. Reduce business cost. So if the API is stable, functional testing efforts will be stable. So once API testing is done and API is available for user, and then if you tested with UI, there will be less bugs, right? Because then you will only find the UI bugs, like either UI bugs or mapping bugs, like API is not hitting, UI is not hitting the correct API, or UI is not able to hit the API. But functionality wise, you already have tested everything, logic related test already in API testing. It can find more some type of bugs more efficiently. Like there are some bugs which is mostly logic based and may not be available on UI. So on UI you see everything is working fine, but it could happen that the logic is wrong. So calculation logic is wrong and you get wrong result in database. But since it is happening correctly on UI, so you can see the UI is correct, UI testing is correct, but backend testing or API testing is giving you issues which you can't find in UI. It is also useful in boundary value testing. So by using a database schema details, you can know that which field is taking which type of data type and how many characters or what is the limit of that particular field. So then if you know the schema, you can directly test the APIs boundary value testing. Boundary value testing is basically testing the minimum capability and the maximum capability of particular field. So the main function of API was to perform the database task, right? So the layer 1, which is a UI layer, connects with layer 3, which is a database layer, through APIs. But APIs perform all those database tasks like create operation, update operation, delete operation, read operation through APIs. So generally we use CRUD operations of databases through API. Okay, and one more thing in that. So we'll talk about method type in the meantime. But so method type are used. So let's say if you want to hit a create statement, you can hit it with post. If you want to hit a read statement or select statement in database, you can hit that with get method type. You can, if you want to hit a update statement, you can do that with put method type, and similarly delete for delete. But post is the parent entity. So post, it all depends on implementation. So a developer can define a post activity for create, update, and delete also. So it all depends on developer implementation, but mostly if you follow the correct syntaxing, that would depend like create for post, read for get, update for put, and delete for delete. JSON. So as I said, so REST API is transformation of data from one system to other system. It takes place using JSON. JSON is a JavaScript object notation and lightweight data interchange format. Generally, REST API accept that and returns data in JSON. JSON data will be available in key value pair. So one is key with basically a field name, and then value is basically the value of that particular key or field name. So this is a sample. So this is a key. Sorry. So this is the field name program code, and this is a value program code value, program name, program value. And this is how you write a JSON format. Curly braces start, curly braces end, field name in quotes, values in quotes, right? And comma in between that. So there are some validation tools. So if you want to verify that the JSON is correct or not, you can use this tool. Validation tool is JSON-lint. And if you want to like beautify the JSON in the correct format, you can use this JSON Viewer tool. Understanding API request. So what are the main parts of API? So when you are testing API, you will learn about these terms like headers. So this is a required component of message. So they define the operating parameter of transaction, so-called metadata. So let's say headers, in headers you can define, so REST supports multiple format, right? Now you want to tell that in headers that what would be the content type. In our case, application JSON, but it could be different, XML also, or plain text content also. So all these details you define in header. Sometimes I talked about Facebook authentication, right, in the earlier slide. So sometimes those authentication token is also provided in headers. Parameters. So REST parameters specify the variable parts of your resources, the data you are working on. So if you see this example, so parameters are basically all the data which is present after question mark. Okay, so north is equal to 44, south is equal to 99. These are all parameters. Methods. We talked about a little bit of methods. This is basically a transaction type. And raw data. This is where we define our payloads. So all the data related to that API is defined in payload, generally used in post and put commands. Status code. So when you hit an API, how do you know that API was successful to get the data or put the data in database? We know it through status code. So when you hit an API on database servers or servers, then in return you get response data plus status code. So status code tells you that whether the operation was successful or not. So these are also status codes types like 1xs, 2xs, 3xs, 4xs, and 5xs. 1xs is simply informational entities. There's no, I think we can't talk much about it. So 200 is basically success. So 200, okay, the main one. 200 created, sometimes we create data. So we did an 201 created. There is no content and so on. So you can see 200 ones are basically used when the data API action was successful. 300 redirection. So let's take an example. Earlier, my website was facebook.com. I created all those APIs there. Now, after some time, I created another website, facebook2.com, and which made it as a main website. But my APIs are still using the first one also. So what will I do is basically I'll redirect facebook.com to facebook1.com, and in that case, the status code would be 300 redirection. 30 permanent removed permanently is basically removing it, or temporary redirect is 307. Client error. So while testing the APIs, if you put anything which is wrong in either in header or raw data, all those errors which is basically due to the client issue is basically client side error. So all those forbidden. So you want to hit an API where you don't have access, then you get forbidden error. For bad request. So let's say you are hitting an API with invalid data, then you get bad request. And so on 405 is another important one where the API is defined for post action and you are hitting it with get action, let's say, then you will get method not allowed. And then 500 ones are basically server error. When server is not able to process your request or server is down, then in that case you will receive 503, 5000, bad gateway 502, and so on. So for testing the APIs manually, we use Postman. The next session would be on Postman manual testing. But you can see like this is where we type endpoint. This is our method type. These are our parameters, and then this is our result. Now, what type of bugs will API testing will find? So it can find the fails to handle error condition gracefully. So you have sent an API request with invalid data, and then in return you get a long exceptions. So in that case, a simple and straightforward message should be displayed. So you can raise those issue, and API testing will find that. Missing or duplicate functionality. So in this case, let's say there is a create contact API where you're creating a contact, but when you are creating a contact with the duplicate email ID, it is still created. This is a bug. This functionality should not be there. So you can find those kind of bugs. Unused flags. So in API testing, we use flags, some flags, right? Let's say when we hit APIs with request headers, there is a header which is not required, like content type. Uh, Content type is called application JSON, but application JSON is already present in developer logic, so this is not required. Or a token like user agent is this, which is also not required. So all these things which are unused, you can find those in unused flags. Not implemented, the functionality is not implemented, but you are trying to do that, right? So in create contact, you are trying to merge contact using two contact data in the raw data. So that functionality is not implemented, but when you try to do that, it is you will find out, and then you can raise it to PM and developers. Performance and API performance and stress testing issues. So you can't test like lakhs of user or 10 lakhs of a million of users using UI, right? That is not possible. Even if it is possible, it take a lot of time, but API can do that within like minutes or in hours. So using that, you can, so generally bank system or consumer specific apps using performance testing of APIs, so that they can know that how much load their server can handle, how much requests can be processed through their APIs, how's their queue mechanism going on, and so on. Incorrect handling of valid argument parameter. So you send a valid parameter, but their handling or processing is coming out as wrong. So you can find those issues also. So now this is about all about basics of API testing. I know I already